1405, 3 trucks, civilian pickup. 1425, 3 ATVs and 2 side-by-sides. 1503, 8 heavy trucks, military, 2 Humvees. 1813, foot patrol. 18 men, 3 with machine guns, belt fed, 3 RPGs, the rest AKs. How you copy? Hello, Patriots. Welcome back to Appalachian Prepper with your host, Ocor 1057. That's me. It's a good, hot, I believe it's the first day of summer day. Actually, it's good, sweaty down here in Appalachian. If you sat through that long intro, we hope you found it somewhat entertaining. We were enjoying making it. What we were trying to portray there was a simulated listening post or observation post, or both. Primarily observation post. You could hear the highway. We were observing the highway, taking note of what we saw on it, and then we were reporting to a higher level of authority. The purpose of this video is, excuse me, the purpose of this video is to talk about this antenna. This is directional antenna. It's a 3-element Yagi or Yagi, depending on how you want to pronounce it. But it is a directional antenna. It's much different than the whip antenna that comes on your radio. This antenna is vertical, and it throws your signal out 360 degrees, uniformly, more or less. When you take this antenna off and connect to a 3-element directional, or a 5-element, whatever the case may be, you're concentrating all that energy from going around in a circle, and basically you are directing it in a narrow beam, much like the difference between a floodlight or a spotlight, if you want to think of it in those terms. If you turn the light switch on in your house, the light bulb floods the whole room, but if you walk into that same room with a flashlight, you have the narrow beam, concentrated light beam. It's the same thing with your radio energy. So these antennas, if you choose to build one, I built this, I designed this, and I'm going to show you a little bit of what I did to it. Not because it's the end all be all, but I wanted it to be able to break down as compactly as possible. And you saw it was in one compression sack along with the tripod. Now you don't have to have a tripod. You can wire them to a tree, put them in a fork of a tree, anything you can come up with. One thing you want to make sure that you do is to have your elements running vertically, because if you notice, all the trees are vertical, so the polarity of your signal will work its way through the trees because it's vertical also. So it helps to defeat foliage and terrain features. Now, might get a little jerky. We're going to move in closer. I want to show you just a few things. These actually give you between 7 and 8 dB of gain, which basically multiplies the power of your radio. That's really layman's terms, but it concentrates all of your energy in one direction, and as it concentrates it, that also gives the same effect of extending its range. So you might go from 3 miles or 1.5 miles to 15, 20, 35 miles, depending on the terrain you're operating in and your power levels. So these are definitely something you want to have in your gear, simply because it extends your range, and they're much more difficult to triangulate and find your transmitting location, because when they triangulate you, they're taking a bearing off of 3 different locations, and where all those lines cross on your signal strength, that's where you are. If you run a narrow beam antenna like this, a directional, off to the sides, it's really hard to pick up your transmission. So it really helps defeat surveillance and also keep your transmissions short. Obviously, the dummy transmission I made there was just made up. It wasn't directly by the book. There's certain radio procedures that we all need to learn and familiarize ourselves with. I was just trying to give you the simulated use of one of these antennas before we spoke about it. So So what I did, I simulated observing the road, which I actually did observe the road and took notes. And then I reported to a higher level of authority with this antenna, simply because in that scenario, there would have been other men out at observation posts in different areas, and they would be transmitting back to that same location so the higher headquarters could get a better understanding of what was happening all around the area. But this is extends your range and offers you greater security if you use one of these. But I wanted one that I could break down and put in my pack. There's all kinds of different ways of doing it. I made this out of PVC. It's got 3 elements. This is your driven element, the center one. That's where you got your negative and your positive, your coax connected to. The rest of them are just single pieces of wire cut to the proper length. The one in the front is the director. The one in the back is the reflector. So this basically captures the energy coming this way and throws it back that way magnetically, electromagnetically. Of course, this is trying to transmit in every direction, but because of the proper measurements on this, it basically concentrates it all into a beam and shoots it that way. Now, what you would want to do, you need to know where you are on the map and where the people you're trying to talk to are going to be on the map, and you will need to use your compass. You need to learn how to use a compass and a map, and you will need to aim this antenna from where you're transmitting from to where the people with the receiving end is going to be, and you will need to do that fairly precisely. Now, I remember when I was a kid and we were all getting, back then color TV was a big deal, and I can remember very well my uncle being on the roof and my dad being down in the living room with his head stuck out the window, and he was trying to turn our antenna, which was directional TV antenna. We didn't have a means of using compass bearings. They'd move it back and forth till the picture looked good. Same effect, but some of you may remember those days that, it's a little bit to the left, turn it more, turn it too far, go back. If you remember that, I do as a kid. But to preclude that, I guess if you had to, you could still move it based on what you're hearing and how you're being received. But it's better to be able to shoot an azimuth and just be as accurate as possible. So a good compass, and knowing how to use it is very important. But these antennas are very important because they basically extend your range maybe 3 times, and it gives you greater safety about being located. If the camera will move in here a little bit, I'll show you. These are just like 14 gauge wire, 16. And all I did, I made the elements out of PVC because that you can friction fit. And what I did, I put an O-ring on there so I can break this all down, fold my wires up, stow it all in the pack as you saw as I assembled it. And then when you reassemble it, you just simply stretch your wire out straight, tuck it under your O-ring, keep it out there straight as you can, and it's pretty much that simple. Basically, your elements, your wire transmitting and reflectors and directors are just, you can roll them up, they're just wire. You can break down the PVC part simply by friction fit. The longest wire will be in the back. The wire, one will be to your positive on your coax, the other will be to your ground shield on your coax. The next one out front will be shorter, so they're kind of longer at the back and taper forward toward the front. The tripod, if you come in here and look at this tripod, check out that sweet paint job I did on that. Paint camouflage is fun, so hope you like that. I think it turned out well. But you don't, like I said, you don't have to have a tripod. I just did it because I wanted to have this here talking about it, and I didn't want to have to try to hold it or tape it to a tree or whatever. But down in Appalachian, you make do with what you can find. You got to be creative. But directional antennas should be part of your knowledge base. I'm not authority. There's much higher levels of authority and knowledge on these, but I wanted to pass on to you what I have learned. And as I learn things, I'm going to share them with you. Like I said, this channel is for the beginners. It's not for the experts of anything. We try to be budget minded and hope we can generate some curiosity, maybe provide a little entertainment. But as you can see in the opening sequence, I carried all this in my backpack. Found our location we needed to set up, the place we needed to observe. We set our antenna up. We shot the azimuth, pointed it to the direction we needed to be communicating in. We laid down and made our observations, took notes. We gave our report, and we could continue to stay here. Of course, typically you probably want to move after you transmit. There's all kinds of technical type things that will have to be taken into account on any given situation. There's no, this is the way you do it each and every time. You got to be fluid, you got to be flexible. And some of what we did was not necessarily tactical, the best doctrine, but we had to be able to capture it on film so you could see what we were doing. So we took some liberties with, obviously I didn't camo up. If this was a real deal situation, I'd be cammyed up to greater extent, face paint. I would not uncover my hands, or I would at least paint those also. Obviously I would probably be standing up. I would assemble this just laying down on my back and just slowly raise it up. So there's, we took some liberties just in an effort to make it easier for you to see what we were actually doing. So what we've done, we did a simulated, we infiltrated to a location to observe a roadway and to report what we observed. We got to that location, we set up our observation post, we set up our directional antenna, we observed, and we called our report in at the appointed time. And like I said, after that we could break down and get it, DD-mal and get out of here, or we could, if the situation was, comfortable enough, we might hang around even after we transmitted. So that will be determined based on the situation at hand. But I think it's a decent design. We might refine it and distill it in the future, but whenever you make a frame for your directional, it cannot be conductive. It can't be metal. Wood works, but if you get it wet, it becomes conductive. But we just wanted to show you, kind of like the idea of using the O-rings to hold the wires tight. Give us a lot more flexibility about breaking it down and stowing it in a small unit. And it's easy to reassemble. Now, believe it or not, we put this on SWR meter when we built it, and we did trim it a little bit to get it from the initial projected measurements. But when we cut it and plugged it back into SWR meter, believe it or not, it's showing a 1-to-1 SWR. And I'm not saying I fully truly believe that, but repeatedly, as we disassemble it and reassemble it and check the SWR, it is always 1-to-1, where another antenna that we built side by side with this one, it's like a 1-to-2. So maybe it's actually 1-to-1. I don't know, but it's close enough. It does function very well, and we hope to maybe in the fall, we're going to attempt to maybe about a 20-mile point-to-point communication between two of these directional antennas. But we'll do that in the fall when it's a little easier to be out. It's not so humid, so many bugs and so forth and so on. But anyway, this has been a long video. We appreciate you hanging around. I won't drag it out any further, but this is good knowledge to have. Look into it deeper. Like I say, there's a lot more experienced people on radio than I am, but this is definitely something you need in your prepper arsenal, for lack of a better term, because it will give your radio 3 times the range, more or less, and it will also protect you from being located should that be something you would desire. So with that, we're going to sign off. So Core 1057 saying, remember now, Patriots, the maximum effective range of an excuse. Oh, gee, Core, I was going to build me one of them directional antennas, but I decided to lay on the couch and watch a ball game instead, and now I can't call and check on my daughter, and she's way over yonder, and I can't get to her. Hey, that's on you, brother. Get up, do what needs done. Excuses are effective for 0 meters. Prioritize what you're doing with your life. simplify, keep the faith, and always, always demand liberty.